Rain was falling softly over the lake when Ethan Cole's aircar descended onto the landing pad beside his cabin. The vehicle's silver hull reflected the dim shimmer of the storm clouds, while the lake stretched below like a mirror of molten glass. His boots splashed onto the wet deck, and for a moment, he just stood there, breathing the scent of pine and ozone. To most, this was an isolated retreat. To Ethan, it was a safe house built with precision, solar camouflage, encrypted comms, and a sub-layer defense grid only he could control. He'd spent the last 6 months rebuilding his life here after exposing the Helix core data scandal that made him both famous and hunted. Inside, the cabin was a perfect fusion of rustic wood and high technology. Wooden beams, dim amber lights, and shelves filled with old books gave it warmth, but the flickering holographic screens, glowing blue around the main room, betrayed its true purpose. His AI assistant, Iris, greeted him in a soft tone. "Welcome back, Ethan. Environmental systems recalibrated. Power grid at 100%. Incoming storm ETA, 47 minutes. He nodded absently, removing his jacket and placing it on the back of the chair. "Any word from the Attorney General's office?" "Dr. Ava Sinclair confirmed arrival for 1900 hours, Iris replied. "She requested full privacy. No satellite traces." "Understood," Ethan said. "Activate stealth mode." Around him, the cabin seemed to hum as its walls shimmered, bending light until the structure nearly disappeared from aerial view. Ethan sat at the console, eyes fixed on a projection hovering above the desk, blue holograms of neural data patterns. He traced a glowing line with his finger. This was what they had tried to steal from him, Chronos, an AI algorithm capable of predicting criminal intent through behavioral data. It was meant for good, he'd argued, but Helix Core wanted control. They'd called it preemptive justice. He'd called it digital tyranny. A faint buzz interrupted his focus. Through the transparent wall, a small drone hovered, scanning his property. His eyes narrowed. "Iris, visual confirm." The AI adjusted the feed. "Model 3B Sky Patrol. Civilian-grade surveillance. Registered to HOA, Lake Serenity Estates." Ethan exhaled, half in disbelief, half in irritation. Of course, the HOA. The most dystopian thing about rural living in 2085 wasn't drones or corporate espionage. It was a woman named Karen Whitmore, president of the Homeowners Association. She had already fined him for installing a solar camouflage dome, for trimming the pines unevenly, and for not displaying his digital address marker at the gate. Now, she was sending drones. "Send a courtesy ping," Ethan muttered. "Maybe she'll take the hint." The drone blinked red and zipped away, but he knew it wasn't over. Nothing with Karen ever was. She was the self-appointed guardian of neighborhood standards, convinced that order kept society safe, a belief that made her dangerous in its own small way. An hour later, lightning flashed across the lake, and the cabin's perimeter lights glowed faintly. Ethan had changed into a plain gray shirt, his expression calm but alert. He had one more hour before Ava Sinclair arrived, the most powerful legal mind in the state and the only person who believed his warnings about Helix Core. The storm outside was picking up, and for a moment, he allowed himself to imagine peace. That's when the doorbell rang. He frowned. Nobody rang doorbells here. Iris's voice came through the cabin speaker. "Scheduled visitor approaching from the North Dock. Identity: Karen Whitmore." Ethan rubbed his temples. Of course. Before he could respond, the cabin door slid open automatically. She must have hacked the basic entry protocol with her HOA access card. She stormed in, wrapped in a waterproof jacket, holding a tablet like a weapon. "Mr. Cole," she began, her tone clipped and self-righteous. "We've received multiple noise and light disturbance complaints from the residents across the lake. I've personally come to investigate." Ethan leaned back in his chair. "At 9 o'clock, during a thunderstorm, in restricted territory. You've got courage, Karen." "This isn't a joke," she snapped. "Our HOA charter clearly prohibits unregistered surveillance equipment and military-grade technology within residential boundaries. You're violating." She paused, eyes catching the holographic screens glowing behind him. "What is this?" "Private research," Ethan said evenly. "You're trespassing." Karen stepped closer, her smart glasses recording everything. "Private research doesn't glow blue and pulse like that. Is this some kind of illegal network? Because if it is, I'm obligated to. A low alarm interrupted her. The cabin lights flickered red. Iris's voice turned urgent. Unrecognized device scan detected. Defensive countermeasures engaged. Karen jumped back, eyes wide. What's happening? You triggered a security sweep, Ethan said, standing quickly. Stay still. He moved to the console, fingers racing across the interface. The air shimmered as the defense grid activated, a soft hum rising to a dangerous pitch. Iris, stand down Protocol 3. Authorization required, the AI replied. Cole Ethan 7-1 Gamma. The hum faded, lights returning to normal. Karen stared at him, breathless. What kind of place is this? The kind you don't walk into uninvited. She tried to regain her composure. I'll be reporting this to the board. We don't allow dangerous devices in our community. You could be endangering lives. Ethan smiled faintly. You have no idea how right you are. Her glare softened for a fraction of a second. What are you hiding, Mr. Cole? Before he could answer, a faint hum echoed outside, deep, steady, mechanical. Ethan glanced through the window. A dark shape was approaching over the water, a sleek, silver hovercraft cutting through the storm. Its lights blinked in an official pattern. Karen followed his gaze, frowning. Who is that? The person you really don't want to mess with, Ethan murmured. The hovercraft touched down at the dock, and through the rain, a tall woman in a long black coat stepped out, carrying a metal briefcase. Even from a distance, her presence commanded authority. Ethan opened the door just as she reached the porch. Dr. Sinclair, he said. Welcome. She nodded. Mr. Cole, I trust security held. Then she saw Karen, who stood frozen near the console. And who? Ava asked coolly, is this? Karen swallowed hard. I'm with the Homeowners Association. I came to file a complaint. Ava raised an eyebrow. Against a man you just broke into. She looked at Ethan. You really live an interesting life. Karen flushed red, realizing she might have just walked into something far beyond her authority. Ethan sighed and gestured toward the table. Dr. Sinclair, let's discuss this inside. Mrs. Whitmore was just leaving. But before Karen could move, the console beeped again. Iris's voice cut through the tense silence. Incoming encrypted transmission. Helix Core channel. Ava's eyes sharpened. Ethan's face went pale. Karen looked from one to the other, her voice small but trembling. What's Helix Core? The storm deepened as darkness rolled across the lake, swallowing the horizon in thick, electric clouds. Rain